Hey everyone, welcome to Breaking Waves. I'm your host, Amit Agrawal. With me today is Laura Davenport, the sub-junior co-host.
Yes, exactly. Very proud to be wielding that title. Hello everyone, we have an amazing episode for you today, and it's a great way to start off our series.
Yeah, and so we are kicking off the podcast with this episode. Laura, you want to talk a little bit about why our schedule is the way it is?
Yes, so this actually is the first episode we're putting out, but it is not the first episode that we have recorded. We have been spending pretty much the last year building a library of content that we are so excited to share with you all, and we had the amazing opportunity to record an episode with a very special guest last week, and we felt that we should get that out as soon as possible. So while this is not the first episode we've recorded, it is the first we'll be putting out, and I hope you all are excited for an incredible series of content and episodes that we have prepared for you all, and this is an amazing way to kick it off.
Yeah, so normally Laura and I will be doing the majority of the podcast going forward, but this is a very interesting episode in which Linda Olson, the CEO, founder, and president of Tampa Bay Wave, is interviewing our dear friend, the Provost and Executive Vice President of the University of South Florida, Dr. Prasant Mohapatra. He's been an amazing supporter of the program, and we're happy that he spent some time with us today and is really excited to share the updates that he has for USF as well as the region at large.
I would like to jump in as a current and past USF student. I went there for my undergraduate degree and am now finishing up my MBA there. I found it fascinating hearing the updates about USF and just hearing and learning about how far they've come. It really increased my bull pride, and I think that it indicates not only incredible things about the future of USF as a university, but also about the future of our region here in Tampa Bay. So anyone with any ties to the University of South Florida, I hope you find some pride in this episode.
Speaking of pride, I do want to get into, we promised through this podcast to give you a life of a bit of what happens at Wave. And,
Yes.
Particularly what happens to someone when they leave for a week and their office gets taken over by other members of the staff. Laura, would you like to fill the group in here about the listeners in about what occurred?
I think that an important part of being on a team and having office life is to keep it fun sometimes. And sometimes team members have the audacity to be out of office for a week, and therefore it is their own fault what happens to their office. And some other members of the team and I decided that Amit was not providing us with enough candy, so we wanted to teach him a lesson. Amit, would you like to describe what you came back to in your office?
Yeah, so backstory is I tend to keep, welcome candy in my office. I don't eat it myself, but I like when the team comes by to try some. I'm, always buying new stuff, especially when I travel. I bring it back, and hopefully the team enjoys it.
Which we appreciate.
But there's been a debate in the office about which candies are superior. And I came back to my office, and it was covered head to toe, like I had been toilet papered, in Reese's pumpkins specifically, mini Swedish Fish, and mini Snickers. In literally every nook and crevice of the office, across my monitor, on my seat, in my water bottles. Let's call them prized possessions. Prized, if you ask my family, they will say it's junk. But to me, they're prized. But nevertheless, covered, absolutely covered. But that's not the thing. I do appreciate the prank. I'm a fan here for a prank. I've done many myself. The type of candy. This was specifically the part of the debate that is the most irksome. If any of you know Swedish Fish, you will know, and I will challenge you, that the mini Swedish Fish are atrocious and a high quality drop from the standard full-size Swedish Fish. And I was specifically promised that if Swedish Fish were coming into the office, they were going to be full-size and not this inferior quality.
Yes.
I am putting Laura on the stand today to defend how we ended up with mini Swedish Fish. I will get to the pumpkins later. I feel that's its own pod, but I want you to defend the mini fish.
I would like to say that while I was not the one that placed the order, I will defend my coworker and co-conspirator who did place the order, which is our incredible COO, Demelza Janest. I truly believe that there was intention there to order regular size Swedish Fish, and I don't think it was an act of radical pro-mini Swedish Fish for us to cover your office in it, but I will say that knowing your feelings towards the regular versus mini Swedish Fish, we should have been a little bit more thoughtful about what we were doing to you. However, I will say, I tend to feel like the mini Swedish fish have more flavor, pack more of a punch, but they also are less satisfying to eat. So it's a little bit back and forth. It's about the texture. And they tend to be harder.
Yeah. And so now we have an office full of mini Swedish fish that nobody wants to eat.
Yeah.
And what do we do about that? On a side note, no sponsor funds. We're committed to this heinous act.
To our sponsors listening, this was a personally funded office vandalization.
But yeah, we'll give you a couple high notes here about the podcast here with the Provost. I was really impressed with what he had to say and what we're about to hear.
Yes, before we play the interview for our listeners, Amit, how about you give us some of the key highlights from the interview so that they know what they're in for?
Yeah, I think one of the things to listen for as you hear the Provost and Linda talking, honestly, is just his forward vision for how USF's critical role within the ecosystem. I think that's one of the things that we try to strive for here at Wave, and which has found the partnership with USF so valuable. This goal of raising the bar of the innovation ecosystem here in Tampa Bay. I actually think when you look at the work they've done, the goals that they have, USF's rise in general with their AAU accreditation and all the good stuff that's coming their way is coinciding with the growth of the Tampa Bay region itself. And it's a really interesting dynamic. It's part of the reason that drew me here 5 years ago. I think that's something you're going to hear in the sincerity of the Provost's vision. And for him to come from the Valley, SF, and to our region, he sees something growing here as well. And you can hear the passion as he talks about it in his segment coming up. But I also want to commend USF for their attitude towards entrepreneurship and startups in general. You don't often see this at the university level. Coming through a number of universities myself, it's just not something you historically see. And they kind of know their place and how to differentiate from the other state-based universities here, and they're really trying to make a mark on that. They're third in research funding at a third of the budget compared to about a third of both UF and Miami as well, which nearly bring in about $3 billion in endowment funding. And so finding a place to differentiate is really, really important, and they're making the most, almost like any startup, right? It reminds me of that vision, or that of what we say about startups is you have to be scrappy and you got to figure it out. Now, in the university world, that might not seem scrappy, but that is really tough, right? Because it's a constant struggle for fundraising, and much like we have to do here. I think the other thing that you'll hear is the excitement around things like Cyber Bay. Cyber Bay is a token of the amazing growth. It's a new conference that's coming here in about a week, which is why we're eager for you all to listen to this. But it coincides with the growth in that particular vertical here in Tampa Bay, right? We've had a couple successes that they'll allude to in the podcast. But USF wants to play a critical role in that, as well as some tech entrepreneurs here. So I wanted to highlight a little bit about Arnie Bellini and his contribution to the university, which will come up in the podcast, and the Provost will talk more about the plans with that. But, you know, this is how great tech ecosystems are built. You look at entrepreneurs and innovators that come back to the region and invest fully in the region. Paul Allen at Microsoft, look at everything that's happened in Seattle, right, over the last 3 or 4 decades. Michael Dell in Austin started the crest of activity of why Austin became a tech hub, right? Austin was not known for tech back in the day, and we personally have seen it after traveling there for the last 15 years. Fred Luddy of ServiceNow did the same thing for Bloomington and Indianapolis, right? Charitable contribution that builds a tech and innovation ecosystem. So we see Arnie Bellini in the same line as that. And I think that's where you'll see the Provost Forward Vision come to play too. So taking his expertise from his experience from the West Coast, and as an entrepreneur himself, you know, and balancing so many initiatives and serving so many stakeholders is not a position that I envy him for. I mean, we think we do a lot here, but at the university level, it just seems to have never stopped. Also, for anyone listening, stakeholder is the word of the podcast. So if you're playing the safe for work drinking game, take your sip now. But yeah, so we're super excited to see what you guys think about the podcast and Linda's discussion, and we'll kick off with that now.
Enjoy, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Every great innovative technology and vibrant tech ecosystem has a fascinating story behind it. And on today's episode of Breaking Waves, we have another great story to share. My name is Linda Olson. I'm the founder and CEO of Tampa Bay Wave, and we are live here in the DCE Studios at Tampa Bay Wave in beautiful downtown Tampa. Thank you for joining us today for another exciting episode of Breaking Waves, a curated podcast where we talk tech startups, entrepreneurship, and venture capital with founders, investors, and thought leaders in Florida's fast-growing innovation ecosystem. Dive into insightful conversations that illuminate the transformative power of innovative technologies and hear the inspiring stories behind the tech, the ecosystem, and for the entrepreneurs listening, even gain a few valuable real-world pieces of advice that you will use to accelerate the growth of your startup. Just remember, if you're listening to today's episode, be sure to like us, share us, follow us on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button. So today is a very special day. I have a very special guest in the studio with us today, Dr. Prasant Mohapatra, who is the Provost and Executive Vice President at the University of South Florida. Prior to joining USF, he served as the Vice Chancellor for Research at University of California, Davis, where he was instrumental in leading and achieving the aspirational goal of $1 billion in annual research awards. That's amazing. He's also a distinguished professor in computer science with research experience in the areas of wireless networks, artificial intelligence, and cybersecurity. Wow. Welcome, Dr. Mohapatra. Thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Linda.
So today we're going to talk about USF's deep connection in the tech community here in Tampa Bay, as well as our long-term relationship with USF and Tampa Bay Wave and the fast-growing field of cybersecurity. And of course, it's a very timely topic. Here in October, we are in Cybersecurity Awareness Month, and I bet you we're going to touch base about the upcoming Cyber Bay Summit later this month, too. But what I'd like to say is, let's dive right in. USF is such a powerhouse for innovation. It truly is. For research and workforce development here in the Tampa Bay region, you've been invited to join the AAU in 2023. Congratulations. And then you followed that with a record-breaking year in 2024 with $738 million in research funding. USF has come a long way. It's no wonder USF continues to attract the best and brightest minds, as well as climb in the rankings like U.S. News and World Report. How does USF's incredible growth impact Tampa Bay's tech ecosystem?
Thank you, Linda, and it's my pleasure to be over here. I would start up by saying that USF is not just a provider of education, just like any other university, but it is also an anchor that promotes innovation, that promotes the transformation of our labs to the market, and also it acts as a magnet in order to attract investors as well as new talent and grow talent in our backyard over here. So as we move forward, in addition to providing the best learning experience to our students, we also want to enhance our partnership with industry. We want to encourage our faculty and students to be more entrepreneurial. And in that process, we want partners like the Tampa Bay Wave in order to work together in encouraging these young and bright minds in order to connect their research activities into the commercial world. And in that whole ecosystem, we want to bring in new industry as well as existing big industry into our ecosystem. And it will be like a three-way collaboration between the university and entities like the Tampa Bay Wave and our local industry in order to promote our entrepreneurial activities.
There's a lot of communities around the country that have major academic research universities in it, like the University of South Florida. But the way the University of South Florida looks at the region as a whole and the role that you have in fostering the economy here, developing talent, but also bringing in the talent in the capital, like you just mentioned, I think it's just a really special relationship that University of South Florida has with the region. But you come from Silicon Valley, right? You have a Silicon Valley background. And so I'm just curious, what do you think are the big opportunities that whether it's University of South Florida or University of South Florida with the community behind, what are the big opportunities that you still see in the future here for Tampa Bay?
I think the first thing is to create a culture. And you may have heard me speaking this earlier that we don't want to be one of the traditional educational institution which produces a workforce that are job seekers. We also want to grow talent, and our graduating students should not be job seekers only, but be job creators. Okay, so that way we can change that culture from job seekers to job creator. And in order to do that, we cannot rely only on the classroom education. We have to rely on partnership like Tampa Bay Wave, and also we want to engage our students in industry experience. So one of the things that I have been really promoting is experiential learning. What that means is before the students graduate, before they walk across the stage in commencement, they should be job ready. And how will they be? If they have some experience in working with industry as internship or collaborators in that process. So we have a couple of activities ongoing in our curriculum that helps in building up students like that. So there is a program called Excel QEP, and there's a team of professionals which help our students to gain those experiences. We also worked with Mellon Foundation in order to create internship opportunities for our social sciences and humanities students, those who normally don't get that much opportunities to pursue those directions. We have an on-campus student incubator, and certainly we are partnering with incubators and accelerators in the Tampa Bay area in order to promote our students as well as our faculty. Some of our faculty are very entrepreneurial going forward, and we'll continue to do so. And there are many opportunities, and Silicon Valley actually started with partnership with universities. So universities are a key component of the entrepreneurial system in any of the metropolitan areas.
You know, because of what I've been doing with Tampa Bay Wave for so long, I've certainly had people over the years try to compare Tampa Bay to Silicon Valley. And I always like to say, well, someday they're going to refer to Tampa as the Bay Area, and Silicon Valley will be the other Bay Area someday. But I'm curious, again, because you have such an incredible background, these partnerships, you know, are actually, I think, for the most part, develop fairly easily in the Tampa Bay region. Tampa Bay, I think, does have a culture to want to look for collaboration and partnerships. And so as these things mature, I expect we'll see a lot of great outcomes from that. But I'm curious just, you know, what hurdles do you see to innovation and entrepreneurship in the region?
So one of the hurdles I already mentioned is the culture, and that is upon us from the educational institution. We need to grow the workforce with a new type of mindset, a new culture in order to adapt to the changing world. And many of the things, Linda, that we cover in classroom type of activities, they become obsolete nowadays by the time you graduate. So we need to prepare our students. So I'll give you one example. At USF, we created a new college. It's called the Bellini College of Artificial Intelligence, Cybersecurity, and Computing. And the primary goal of this college is to develop workforce so that the graduating students will have adequate work experience as well as a mindset to be more entrepreneurial going forward. And you talked about calling Tampa as the other bay. We are sending a different message over here. It will not be the other bay. We want to have Tampa Bay named as Cyber Bay. So we are focusing a lot on cybersecurity and artificial intelligence through this new college and through our activities in the region and partnership with the local companies.
Well, you are just opening the door wide open for me to kind of transition the conversation back over to cybersecurity because, again, it's Cybersecurity Awareness Month. You know, it's such a critical focus for the region here. There's certainly a lot of cybersecurity assets in the region. You've got success stories still in the making with ConnectWise and KnowBe4 and ReliaQuest and Align, several others that I could probably keep going and naming. How would you assess Tampa Bay as a national hub for cybersecurity and cyber innovation? And how do we kind of really make sure we plant the flag here solidly?
Two things. One is, as you know, the growth of AI and the adoption of AI has been phenomenal. But I frequently get asked this question that, do I see any barrier going forward into the future? One of the barriers that I foresee is cybersecurity. If we don't make the applications of AI secure, it will come to a point that where it will have negative consequences. So cybersecurity will be an integral part of the traditional operations as well as the adoption of AI. So moving forward, we want to put a stake in the ground that Tampa, the greater Tampa area, is the center of cybersecurity activities. So to initiate that, and we move very fast to initiate that process, in partnership with local industry and other units, we are organizing the Cyber Bay Summit for the first time on October 13th, 14th, and 15th. Actually, this month. I didn't realize it's less than 2 weeks away. So this will be a first of its kind. We have already 400 plus registrants signed up for that. And we are trying to attract the best people out there, the best speakers. But the whole goal is not only to have speakers and the traditional conference activities. The whole goal is to create a network of people. That network will help guide the ecosystem in Tampa Bay area, and so that this area is not only recognized as the Cyber Bay focused metropolitan area, but also this will set up this summit, and we will have annual summit going forward. This will be kind of a ground where people will meet each other, build up the network, and build up the collaborative partnerships that will propel the cybersecurity activities.
I think it's always so powerful when you can get a number of people in the same room or the same venue. Magical things can happen. I will tell you, for our listeners, Tampa Bay Wave will be there for sure. I think myself and Dr. Manassi are actually participating somehow on a panel, so we're very, very excited to support it. We've been running our Cyber Tech Accelerator program since 2021. We're trying to do our share to kind of help support that effort as well. It's interesting, because we've run this program for several years, we've worked with a lot of cybersecurity startups, and one of the questions they often ask, at least some of the ones who are not from the region, is what kind of talent can they expect for their startups if they were to move to Tampa Bay? And I'm just curious, how do we answer the talent questions for these startups? Is probably the way to put it.
So one nice thing that we are trying to institutionalize through this new college is the feedback from industry. We have created an industrial advisory board for the new college, the Bellini College of AI, Cybersecurity and Computing. Through their guidance and engagement, we try to modify or build our curriculum that meets the demand of the industry, in addition to the foundational coursework that helps them to learn the basics. But beyond that, our goal is to train students, those who are very application specific, and also we want to develop the quality in them so that they are adaptable with the technologies. There might be future technologies that we are not aware of, or we will see new types of technologies. So we want to make the workforce ready to adapt to those changes as we move forward. And also, the size. We started the new college with 3,000 students. Our target is to raise it up to 5,000 in just 3 years. So for the companies, those who are coming from outside, they will have a large talent pool to pick, the kind of workforce that they need.
Now, of course, I understand this college was made possible because of a very sizable gift from someone with the last name Bellini.
Yes,
that's the Bellini College, right?
We are thankful to Arnie and Laurie Bellini, who are generous enough to support the college through a gift of $40 million. But it's not only the money, Linda. It's a sizable money. I acknowledge that will help us have a new building for the college. But the partnership with Arnie and his excitement, his energy has been really an asset in building up this college.
I just think it's really powerful when you see a successful entrepreneur who built his company here in the region. Actually, I think he's a product of the University of South Florida and probably hired many people from USF over the years, coming full circle and now making this sizable gift to make this college available so that we can have more success stories here. What does it mean to you besides that, like to have an entrepreneur success story like Arnie make this kind of investment in USF?
I'm very thankful for that. But, in one of your earlier questions, you asked me to distinguish between the Silicon Valley and the Tampa Bay. This is a big distinction. If you look at some of the big companies, even the ones that are no longer new, like Google, Yahoo, and all, they made very sizable contribution to the universities through partnership, the ones that they grew so much. And I think it is a good practice for the community in order to, give back, to bring in the next unicorn. Who knows, Arnie's contribution might bring up more than one unicorns forward.
Well, I think that's what he hopes for, right?
Yes.
Right? Let's shift over to Cyber Bay, because I know he is incredibly passionate about the Cyber Bay Summit for sure. Just for our listeners who, you talked a little bit about the idea behind Cyber Bay Summit, but if someone here is listening and thinking it sounds interesting, what do you want to tell them why they should attend, whether they're a business leader or a student?
So the key, again, this is the first ever, so we are still analyzing the entire scope, but this will connect some of the top AI and cybersecurity researchers and practitioners in the area. It will also bring in a lot of energy from younger employees as well as the students of not only USF, from other universities in the region here. It will probably open up new avenues for collaboration, new areas for discoveries. And as we move forward, it will also probably help us to get insight to the future. There might be more visionary presentations in there where it will energize people to think about future that they would not have realized yet.
It's going to be great someday when somebody can come back to you and tell you this incredible success story I built started with a conversation at the Cyber Bay Summit, right? Wouldn't that be amazing?
It will be amazing.
Just, I don't mean to kind of cut you, off guard, but are there any?
Some of the aspects that we are looking at is kind of, the combination of health, like the medical sciences, and cybersecurity and AI. So like to give you an example, we have a faculty doing research on how to interpret the language of infants. When you have infants, whether they are in pain or different kind of emotions, it's very hard to read. But, we are developing technologies to read those feelings. The other thing that I want to highlight is we have a faculty members who is leveraging AI techniques in order to analyze the spread of diseases through mosquitoes. And so that's pretty interesting work in there. So there are many such activities where we are collaborating, and specifically on cybersecurity. There is a group now collaborating with our faculty from criminology. Criminology is a good program at USF. So they are looking at how you can analyze new approaches in order to do the deep level detection that are used in criminology.
I would also think there's probably some connection between the defense industry here, Tampa Bay being home to MacDill Air Force Base. You've got a number of important commands there, including SOCOM, Special Forces. And I know you've got the University of South Florida Institute of Applied Engineering, or IAE, that works specifically with them. I'm assuming there'll be some integration between their work and this college?
Yeah, we are so excited about that. I think we are one of the very few universities fortunate enough geographically to be closer to two Air Force bases. And we have an institute called Institute of Applied Engineering. IAE recently obtained a contract from the Department of Defense, specifically Army Research Lab, of $85 million.
That's incredible.
So we will be having a lot of collaborative partnership with the Department of Defense and the researchers in the MacDill Air Force Base, SOCOM and CENTCOM, in order to promote and advance our capabilities in the defense sector.
I mean, not to use a play on words, but no wonder people here are so bullish on Tampa Bay, right? I mean, when you hear about all the things that you're doing and what's happening in the community and the connectivity between the cyber ecosystem and the defense community here and the health tech and our healthcare industry, it's really just an exciting time.
And the new tagline for USF, as you know, is be bold.
Yes.
So we want to be bold, to move fast, and, to create new things to impact the region, the state, as well as the nation.
I'm just curious, just some closing questions here. Like, what are USF's top strategic priorities right now? Maybe besides the Bellini College that we just talked about.
We went through that exercise very recently. So we have identified 3 areas where we want to invest resources in order to be the leaders in those areas. But by the way, I want to make it clear that that doesn't mean that we will ignore everything else. We are a comprehensive university, so there will be a lot of areas that we'll support. But the 3 areas I want to highlight, one is molecular biology and sciences, which essentially means the medical sciences. We have the Morsani College of Medicine is the leading medical college in the state of Florida. And this was possible also through our partnership with the Tampa General Hospital. So we're really happy about that. So that's the first area. The second area is, of course, artificial intelligence. And again, I want to be a little more specific there. We will be focused primarily on applications of artificial intelligence. The third area is human and infrastructure security. What that means is infrastructure security is all about cybersecurity and our program related to the Global National Security Institute, those kind of activities. But there's another component as human security. Human security deals with some of our work related to food security, our work related with human trafficking, that is primarily centered in our St. Pete campus. So the third area spans both human as well as infrastructure security. So these are the 3 domains that we will try to invest more, and we already are doing a lot of work, but we will be the leaders in the nation in these areas.
So if you could just look out 5 or 10 years, where will USF be then?
USF in 5 or 10 years will be like the University of Florida. Okay. I know my friends in Gainesville will not like that statement, but we will be the top university in Florida.
I mean, you certainly have the momentum.
Yes.
That's for sure. Anything that we didn't talk about today that you want to make sure I'll give you a chance to bring up anything.
I just want to say that USF is not only about academics and research. We are making good progress in athletics also. Our football team is winning, and
And there might be a stadium coming, right?
Yeah, and there is a new stadium being built on campus. The 2027 fall football games will be played on campus, and that will bring a new level of energy, a new kind of lifestyle on campus, and we are so looking forward to it.
As somebody who went to a different undergrad that had a football team, I will tell you the on-campus football stadium, I think,
It is a big thing.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
It really is. I'm just so grateful for your time. I'm looking at, you talk about USF really being more than just, again, you were saying more than just academia, really using the university to be an anchor and a magnet to help the region attract talent and capital. I think that's so spot on what we would want from the University of South Florida as someone from the business community. I love your talk about how to create a stronger culture around not just job seekers, but job creators.
Right.
Certainly as somebody who works close with a lot of entrepreneurs, we've even joked about giving our founders, I'm not just a founder, I'm a job creator kind of title, right? I think that's really fascinating to hear. And then, of course, the picture you paint for the future of USF, and even the impact that the Bellini College of AI, Cyber, and Computing is going to mean to not just the university, but to the region.
Yes.
I think Tampa Bay is one of the most exciting places to be in the country right now.
Things are happening here, and it's happening fast.
Well, I really appreciate your time today. It's just been a fascinating conversation. So thank you for your time.
Thank you, Linda.
And to our listeners, if you're passionate about cybersecurity or just want to stay ahead of the latest trends, please don't miss the Cyberbay Summit. It's October 13th, 14th, and 15th. You can visit cyberbay.org for more details and to register. And thank you again for tuning into this episode of Breaking Waves. Again, please follow, share, like on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. And don't forget that subscribe button. At Tampa Bay Wave, we believe that together, we're not just riding the waves of innovation, but we're making them. So until next time, keep making waves.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the podcast and the illuminating discussion between Provost Mohapatra and Linda Olson. We're excited to do some of these featured speakers going forward and bring you guys more content on a regular basis. But Laura, do you want to give the listeners some updates, upcoming events?
It was mentioned in the interview, but we will be at Cyberbay at a booth on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, October 13th, 14th, and 15th. Ready and excited to interact with the cybersecurity community of Tampa and beyond. In honor of Cybersecurity Awareness Month, nothing can be more timely. We'll have some alumni and some of our own community members there and team members. So very excited for that. And then, on the same topic of conversation of Arnie Bellini and his contribution to the technology ecosystem of Tampa Bay and putting Tampa Bay on the map for a technology innovation hub. You might have seen that on Friday we announced that our 2025 Tampa Tech legend this year will be Arnie Bellini, and we will be honoring him at our 2025 Hall of Fame fundraiser and celebration on December 18th. Tables for that are on sale now, by the way. And it will be an opportunity to really pay tribute to the contribution that Arnie has made to our community and highlight him as a true legend in the Tampa Bay technology ecosystem.
Amazing. Thanks, Laura. And we hope to see everyone next time. And remember, the many fish are inferior.
Thank you, everyone.